Yo, Right Side Nation, what's going on? This is Mike Hanley with RightSideNews.com. This is actually the first video that I'm throwing together, and really the reason that I'm doing it is just over the past, 2.5 years, there's just been a lot going down, and it seems like the swamp is finally being fully considered for drainage. I think the whirlpool is beginning. It's a slow, slurping sound. And my friends, how sweet it is. But the reality of the situation is there's a lot going down. We have everybody from Comey to Clapper to Brennan. Um, you know who's quiet? Good old Barry Soweto, Barack Hussein Obama. And the real question is, why is he so quiet? And what's going down? I was reading earlier this week a tweet from Brennan reaching out to none other than a fellow swamp creature. Well, there's actually two of them. One, Paul Ryan, and the other, Mitch McConnell. Brennan. This guy, Brennan, the former director of the CIA, is reaching out to Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, telling them that they better do something. Who knows what he was really asking for, but the whole idea behind this is we've known it all along. Let's be real. We've known what's been going on. We've known Paul Ryan was a swamp creature. We knew Mitch McConnell was perhaps the dirtiest, nastiest rhino that we have in the GOP. And I think what we're all seeing now is the swamp is starting. It's starting to bubble. There's a little whirlpool starting, my friends, and the whole idea here is that the swamp is going to be drained. Assuming that the swamp is going to start being drained, I really kind of want to talk about what we're starting to find out in terms of the spying and the potential moles that were set in the Trump campaign. And we believe this was done by none other than the FBI, which would have been okayed by Comey and Clapper. Let's just put this into context for a second. If we really put it into context about the idea of this is absolutely insane. Okay, the Democrats throughout the whole entire election were sitting here and they're talking about Trump. Oh, he'll never win. He'll never get past 23%. He'll never get past 25%. All throughout the whole media. There's no way this guy can win. Absolutely not. He can't win. There's nothing that he can do. But we want to make sure that we put a spy or a mole inside of Donald Trump's campaign to figure out exactly what's going on, most likely what the strategies are like, the issues that he's going to focus on, where he's going to be, and just all the intelligence that they can gather on someone like Donald Trump, who, by the way, you don't know what he's going to do. You just absolutely have no idea. And Trump is the ultimate savage. I don't care what anybody says. The guy is just downright savage, okay? No one knows his next move. I don't even know if he knows his next move. But that's the beauty of it. And in my personal opinion, Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States, is the only person, perhaps in history, that can succeed in the environment that he has been put into in this day and age, considering what he has been put up against. He is so uniquely talented and so uniquely qualified to do what he is doing. Let's just think back for a little bit. We have the media. We have the Republicans. We have the Bushes. We have the Clintons. We have the establishment. We have the Republicans. We have the Democrats. We have the sitting president, Barack Hussein Obama. All of these factors are going against him. And then on top of that, what we just find out, there was a spy and a mole inside of his campaign while all of this was going on. And yet the guy succeeds. He succeeds. And if we're really looking at the success of what he's done, it's not just the success that he's had with the economy. Because, I mean, this is the art of the deal, folks. I mean, folks, this is sincerely, this is what the art of the deal is all about. But not only that, I mean, it's promises made, promises kept. We even saw today on abortion, Barack Obama, or excuse me, Donald Trump sitting up there talking about the feces in the babies that have not yet been born, that they need to be protected, and then also that the mothers who are in difficult and challenging positions also need support from people like me, from people like you, from their neighbors. I feel like we've lost way too much of that in the United States. I mean, let's be honest. When we're walking down the street, are we helping a lending hand to our neighbor? If we see somebody who's down in the dumps, are we saying hello? Are we asking them how their day's doing? Are we opening the door for the person next to us? I mean, it's all these little things that I think that we can do to help make a difference in each other's lives. But back to the point about promises made, promises kept. I mean, we're talking about, and then also today, China. We have Donald Trump's negotiated a $380 billion reduction in the trade deficit with China. And in the whole time, throughout the whole campaign, Trump's sitting there, and we've seen these videos. China, 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 China this, China that. Well, yeah, they've been ripping us off. And look, Trump doesn't blame China. He doesn't blame blame Asia. He doesn't blame Europe. He doesn't blame the Middle East. He doesn't blame these countries for taking advantage of us. I mean, can you? I mean, I sure as hell don't think so. I mean, if I was in their position and they were doing the best for their country and for their people, I mean, absolutely they should do that. But I mean, what we're seeing here is Donald Trump is finally sticking up for the American worker. $380 billion deficit. I've been paying a lot of attention lately with all this talk about the China negotiations. Oh, he can't get it done. Oh, I mean, anything that they say Donald Trump can't do, that he can't get done, he gets done. I mean, this is cake. I think this is honestly cake for him. I think this is pretty easy. I mean, and this is despite all of the obstruction. But we're talking about the American worker. I mean, the unemployment rate, I think, is about 3.5% to 4.5% right now. Black unemployment's the lowest it's been ever. Latino unemployment, Hispanic unemployment, the lowest it's ever been. And then the female unemployment is the lowest that it's been, I believe, in 18 years. And he's cutting back the red tape. He's renegotiating deals. And like I was saying a little bit earlier, I don't know if I had finished the sentence, but I've been looking at a lot of some of the things, household products that are where I live. And what I'm seeing on the bottom of everything is made in China, made in China, made in China. Now look, I'm not saying that everything needs to be made in America. By no means. And we have Japanese cars, we have Toyota. I believe Subaru is Korean, I want to say. But there are all these these imports that are coming into our country, but yet none of them, or not none of them, but a lot of these products aren't being made here in the United States. And I guess the idea is that if we can have some, I mean, even if we take back, let's say we take back a quarter of the amount of goods that are made overseas and we bring them back here. People say, oh, well, this isn't, I mean, it's not going to make that big of a difference. I mean, I've even heard family members, oh, well, if you bring back an automotive plant, it's only going to be about 12 people working in the automotive plant. I mean, let's be real. Let's be real. How do you think these plants get there? They have to be built. And in order for them to be built, we have architects that design the building. We have engineers that make sure the plumbing, the HVAC, that the building works, essentially. The plumbing, the water, among other things. I'm not an architect or an engineer, but I know a little bit about it. And then on top of that, it's the people, the concrete, the steel. I mean, we're looking at U.S. Steel as expanding. Recently, there was a an increase in the amount of jobs and production that U.S. Steel. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is they're expanding. U.S. Steel is expanding. So if we have the steel, the concrete, we have American workers. And like, look, I personally, I'm not against any immigration. I'm against illegal immigration. All I want to do is people to come here, and we want them to come here legally, and we want them to, um, we just want them to be embedded in our culture. We want them to be a part of the culture, and so that we have a stronger fabric for America. And I think when people come here legally, not to say that we don't want people speaking other language, because that's a beautiful thing. I love the Spanish language. I personally want to learn Portuguese. But we want them to know English so that they can communicate on a daily basis with others, not just inside their families and maybe in a small community. But it's just the whole idea that they get here, they get a good job, they can get their feet on the ground, of course, pay taxes, and we want these people to be taken care of. We're not asking that these guys, they come to our country and they have no chance. I mean, look, looking back, it wasn't easy for the Irish. It wasn't easy for the Italians. I mean, God, it sure as hell wasn't easy for the African Americans. I mean, let's look at slavery. I mean, the institution of slavery was just an absolutely awful thing. Um, and you know, I think we're still seeing some of the ramifications of slavery, and I think there is a lot of conversation that needs to be had in regards to that, still to this day, because I think there's too much division, and I think partially, I think that the media is to blame for that. Me being from St. Louis, as you can see, St. Louis Cardinals. I hope you can see this. We had the Ferguson riots, and I think St. Louis is a pretty racially divided city in ways. There's something called the Delmar Divide, which is predominantly African American north of Delmar, which is considered on the north side of St. Louis or North City, and then south is predominantly white. But you know, basically, what my whole point is we want to make sure that people come here, they come here legally, they can live a happy life, they can pay taxes, they can build a retirement account, an IRA, a 401k, they can send their kids to school. I mean, whatever that looks like. But I think it's extremely important that coming here legally is the basis by which that all happens. And I mean, this kind of goes back to the idea of construction and building in our economy. So let's say we're building these factories. We're building factories for here on American soil. It's not just the idea that products will be made here in America, which would be great because then we can source the materials here in America if we so choose. If it's cost effective, maybe not. But if we make them here, we'll have people making them, or we'll have robots making them, and we'll have people overseeing the operation. But then don't forget about the building, the plumbing, the construction, the concrete. I mean, everything that goes into a building. I mean, the nails. My friends, all of these things are going to make a hell of a difference. overall in the American economy. So if we can get a lot of those imports to be made here in America, and we can get construction on the rise. Construction. Think about every little thing that goes into a building, whether it be a household, flooring, lighting. I mean, it's if you really sit down and think about it, it's really something else. But I really just wanted to talk about that deficit, the reduction deficit of $380 billion that Donald Trump promised and he delivered on. And then of course there's and then there's Barack Obama again saying, how is Trump going to do this? Is he just going to wave a magic wand? I mean, the ignorance that Obama displayed during this whole thing, I mean, it was truly astonishing. And to be completely honest, I don't think that he was sitting here thinking, oh, he can't do it. He can't do it. I think, in my personal opinion, that Barack Obama was sitting up there thinking, holy shit, this guy might win. And he had to throw everything, including the kitchen sink. I mean, shit, Hillary Clinton threw was it $2 billion? I don't know. Somebody fact check me here. I think maybe it was $1 billion. Hillary Clinton, $1 billion at a political campaign, some of which that money was taken from foreign governments and put into our elections. And we're sitting here talking about Russian collusion a year and a half later. After the sitting president, Donald J. Trump, gets elected, there is still, to this day, an investigation going on in regards to the Trump campaign's collusion with Russia during the presidential campaign of 2016. And I think what we're all going to find here, folks, is it's a bunch of hogwash in the swamp. The swamp creatures are, the water levels are going down. The swamp creatures, they're being exposed. There's less places to hide. And hey, my friends, I think the swamp creatures are beginning to cannibalize. And you know what that means. The swamp may no longer be. Anyways, I'm out here in Southern California doing this video. Just kind of wanted to throw a few things out there. Again, this is my first video. I hope you guys like it. If you can fact check me on anything, please. And I think it's important to get some patriots out here talking, continue the movement. Another thing that I definitely want to bring up is this idea of midterms and trying to get Republicans or Trumpsters or whomever we want to get elected just to fight for the American people, for the American dream, for the life, the liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And just one moment. And there was a video that a guy put out the other day. I can't remember it, but I'm going to start using something where I can scroll through some tweets and show you guys through here some of the things that I take into consideration when making these videos and some of the topics that I like to talk about. But they said that it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth putting forth energy and time to try to get Republicans elected. And me personally, I sit here and I think that's complete nonsense. I mean, we have Devin Nunes, I believe, who's on the House Intelligence Committee, and he was elected out of the state of California. So the whole idea that we shouldn't waste our time trying to get Republicans elected to the United States government is absolute nonsense. Now, maybe Nunes can't do a lot locally in the state of California for some of the Republican rights. Maybe he can for some public initiatives is what I'm really trying to say. Maybe he can't do a whole lot at this moment in time. But what I'm thinking is that if you get people elected like him that can do things on a federal level from the top down, i.e. building the wall, making sure that people are in this country legally, that murders like Kate Steinle don't happen anymore. I believe it's Jameel Walker. I remember, I believe it's Mr. Walker, I believe, was on the Trump campaign. Not on staff, but he would show up at particular events, and you could just see the devastation, in his eyes and in his heart. And I think it's absolutely imperative that we do everything that we can on a daily basis to continue keeping a positive attitude, continuing to just push forward with the Make America Great Again movement and just all that it stands for. And many people are going to sit here and say, oh, it's racist, it's bigoted. Absolutely not. If Donald Trump was a racist, there is no way in hell that the black unemployment rate would be the lowest it's ever been. There would be no way in hell that the Hispanic or Latino unemployment rate would be the lowest it's ever been. That's just preposterous. There's no way. If he was a racist, I would imagine that he would do every single thing in his power to decimate those communities. That's what I believe, if in fact he was. I mean, we even see now Kanye. We see Kanye coming out. We see Candace Owens coming out. We know Ben Carson. I mean, Kanye, Candace, and Carson, the KCC. Doesn't get any better, folks. And Kanye's the real deal. Kanye knows what's good. I mean, Candace Owens is a absolutely beautiful, strong, tough woman. She's a fighter, which I absolutely love about her. And Ben Carson seems to be the sweetest man. I mean, he had a tough go during the election, and he was the number 2 candidate. I think until, I don't know, something like Lion Ted Cruz put out that memo in Iowa saying that Ben Carson, they shouldn't vote for him and that his votes won't count. So Ted Cruz was getting votes instead of Ben Carson. That really hurt his momentum, Carson's momentum, in my personal opinion. It was Ted Cruz number 1. It was Donald Trump number 2, I believe. And then I think Carson got 3rd. But Carson was shooting for, I believe, to win that state in the primary, which I believe is the first primary for the Republican Party in the presidential campaign. So anyways, it's been an absolute pleasure. It is May 22nd. It's about 10:15 out here on the West Coast. And I appreciate you guys tuning in, guys and gals. Please leave comments. Hey, anything positive, negative, whatever. Let's start a conversation. Let's keep it real. And hopefully we can start a nice conversation about making America great again and what that means to all Americans. God bless.